What's good? What's really good? This is Michael here. I'm going to be walking through Expatria, the research portal and platform that helps people retire early by moving abroad. And so this is going to be a bit of a video. It's going to walk through all of our capabilities as a product for potential users to take a look at, and as well for um, the potential partners in the content marketing community who focus in this world of international retirement. It's going to be a way for you to kind of evaluate and understand the functionality and capabilities of our product. So, we obviously have this little landing page, that you can kind of, take a look at yourself to understand how we're selling everything. But we're just going to kind of jump right into our dashboard here. And Expatria is a freemium product where customers are able to poke around, get a limited taste of the functionality at their disposal before they commit to becoming paying members of the community. So the first thing you'll see is a little tour that's going to kind of jump through some of the most commonly used pages. It's going to go into the Atlas, which is our interactive world map. The Atlas, has, and our platform in general has over 1,000 different cities to explore to understand the cost of living ramifications for the types of places that you might want to live. We have a built-in real estate module where we have built a Chrome extension that will help you source and find and track your real estate journey as you're thinking about where you might want to live, like what house or condo you might want to live in. We have a dedicated cost of living comparison module to help you understand, based on your side-by-side comparisons, how much money would you save living in X country or X city. We have an international tax calculator, which lets you, based on your projected income, helps you understand the comparisons between your future destination and the tax obligations you might owe at your current country as a benchmark. And then, of course, we have Expatria Plus, where you can sign up to have access to all of our premium features. But the first thing that you're going to want to do to get started is to use our interactive questionnaire. And this is going to basically be a couple of questions that you can answer to help us give you a baseline and give you a couple of initial recommended countries to pick and choose from. So you can click either here or here to get started with the questionnaire. And, a lot of it is going to be some simple stuff, like what's your hometown? Well, I'm from Seattle. So I'm a US citizen. Let's say that, you put in a retirement nest egg, just pre-populated to 100,000. And then it would kind of go into some of the more, personalized questions, such as, are you looking to enjoy a luxurious lifestyle in your retirement? I'm going to go ahead and say no to that. I'd prefer to own a house. I would be interested in obtaining a second passport. Am I interested in setting up an irrevocable trust or having a passport in a non-recognizing jurisdiction? I'm going to go ahead and say yeah. For my favorite continent, I'm probably going to go ahead and say Asia, kind of thinking about Thailand or the Philippines or China. And for a second language, I speak Spanish. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Skiing is not that important for me. So I'm going to go ahead and pass. I would enjoy living in a tropical climate. If I had to pick my favorite geographical feature, I would say it's going to be a beach. I'd probably say I'm a moderate politically. This is just a question to help give you a couple of different options that you might not have thought about. I'm not expecting an Airbnb my house. Am I married? I am not married, not yet. And I, right now, do not have any children that would also require a passport. And I'm going to go ahead and say 3 out of 5 in terms of the medical care. I'm going to enter in my email, which you can always contact me here. And we can go ahead and review our answers. and we can go ahead and submit the questions to get our initial set of recommended countries to choose from. So here we're in our kind of main desk where we'll go back to the queue. These are going to be the countries that, based on the results from the questionnaire, we're going to recommend you take a look at first. And almost every single one of these countries that we're recommending for a reason. It's because they have an actionable immigration program that you are going to be able to take advantage of, whether it's through a golden visa-esque situation where you can invest in real estate, whether it's through something called a pensioner visa or a retiree visa, where if you have a certain amount of monthly residual income coming from your investments, that works as well. Or whether you want to kind of pay for a citizenship using something called citizenship by investment, which is where you literally write a check, a big check, probably for like 200,000 or so at the minimum, and then they'll get you a passport. So as you can kind of see here, we have a special co-pilot system where we have a chat GPT-esque chat system that integrates with our functionality that we provide right here. And I can give you a kind of an example of that later on. We'd have to log in for you to take a look at that. But for now, why don't we take a look at the first country on our list, which is Argentina. So we put together and as you can see here, we've unlocked an achievement here, review one country from your list of recommendations. As you can see, we've put together a module where you can kind of swipe through using TikTok-esque UI for you to be able to take a look at some of the information about these countries. If you're on an iPad, for example, we have another tour here for you to understand what this kind of looks like. It's designed to be intuitive on mobile or desktop. You can exit out of it by pressing escape or by using the up and down arrow keys. So, we have some demographic information about Argentina. We have a cost of living report for you to understand, within Buenos Aires, how much does a cappuccino cost, converted to US dollars. And this data is benchmarked to 2023 as a FYI. So feel free to add 10%, or in Argentina's case, 40%, whatever the inflation might be. And so this is a way for you to kind of go through and look through the various items here. As you can see, to look at the actual immigration documentation, the actionable immigration program for Argentina, Expatria Plus members can access this documentation. And every single immigration program, has links back to the official government website that has the official guidance on what the correct procedures are. And what we do is we take the steps that are involved and we try to explain them in a way that's simple to understand, and a way for you to evaluate at a high level before you dive deeper into the official requirements. Maybe one day in the future we'll look at partnering with lawyers, or we'll look at providing slightly more detailed immigration guidance. But for now, I think I would say is that we're not, Expatria is not a lawyer, and so it's not really a substitute for hiring somebody with that kind of expertise. But all that being said, we are all human beings, and lawyers are just highly specialized and highly trained human beings. If you read the requirements in a detailed way, you download the forms. Sometimes you might need to translate them. You'll be able to get there most of the way without having to rely on a lawyer. To tax data. So we have a way for you to review your tax obligations. So like, if we look at, taxes, there's a lot of different things to consider, right? You have your personal income tax, you have your capital gains tax for your investments, for your realized capital gains. But, for a lot of the people who might be considering moving abroad, some of you might have corporations. Some of you might want to think about registering your corporations in those domiciles. Perhaps that's a primary purpose for you to want to move there. So having your estimating your corporate rates, gift tax rates. In America, we have state taxes. And so you're going to be able to, we have tax rates for almost every single country in the world, thanks to data that's provided online by Ernst & Young and PricewaterhouseCoopers. So we rely on them to publish correct data. You're able to add tax credits, custom taxes, and we also have a couple of extra goodies, for example, helping you understand whether the United States and Albania have a tax totalization treaty in place. You can read the Ernst & Young documentation directly on our platform as well. This comes from their, worldwide report on, personal taxation. So as you can see, the United States section is quite substantial. And, this is provided as a courtesy for you to be able to review everything here. But, you can always go to their website and check it out there. But when you're reviewing these countries, for Argentina, for example, the immigration is going to be exclusive, but the demographic data is going to be something that's provided for you, right? You're going to be able to learn about what the GDP per capita is. Do they have any alcohol policies in Argentina? So I think alcohol policy prohibited, meaning that it has some form of prohibition. I might need to double check that. The population, the unemployment rates, a lot of the standard demographic data. We have built-in maps for every single country, along with information about some of the biggest, most important cities. So Buenos Aires was automatically added to the queue of cities for you to review. And right now we're looking at reviewing the list of countries, but reviewing individual cities is also a big part of what's going to be going on. So, we can try to manually add this city for review, but you will get a notification that manually adding cities for review is reserved for Expatria Plus members only. You're going to be able to review the Ernst & Young reports, like I mentioned, in a variety of places, unlocking a new achievement. And then you're also going to be able to kind of take a look at some of the healthcare information. And, for people who are looking at retiring, this is going to be pretty important. So, you're going to be able to understand very rough estimates for private versus public systems. You're going to be able to understand, at a high level, what kind of model do they operate under. And Argentina uses a hybrid model, which has a public system, unlike the American system, for example, which does not. You'll be able to review tax rates for that particular country. We've also, as a courtesy, added the CIA fact book here. So for those who are looking to just kind of read up a little bit on the history and understand a little bit more about the geography and other aspects of Argentina or any country, they'll be able to kind of look at that as a courtesy. And finally, we have our daydream mode, which every single country in our platform has pictures for you to kind of get an idea of the vibe of the country, and also for a particular city potentially. Seeing a little temporary bug here where the picture seems to be flashing a little bit, but the idea is that we want you to understand what the daily life looks like in a city. So yes, we have a picture or two of the most famous tourist monuments, but what we really want to do is show you what on a day-to-day life, what do the buses look like, right? Kids are going to a soccer game. Argentinians go absolutely wild for soccer. Maradona is one of the greatest players of all time, famous for their wildlife, famous for their vibrant and sometimes chaotic political scene as well. I believe this is a rally or a protest, something. So the idea is to help you, of course, just get a better understanding of what a particular country might look like at day, at night. So, this is essentially a way for you to review the different countries that you had at your disposal. And you're not seeing the full kind of, this is I would call the free version of the UI that you're seeing right now. So, um, but once when you go ahead and take a look at all these countries, we automatically add some cities for you to review as well. Basically, the capital city or the kind of global city or the expat hub city of each of these countries. We kind of automatically add them in for you to review. So, for example, we got Buenos Aires in Argentina, but for those who got Thailand added to their list of recommendations, you're going to be able to take a look um, at that city's information specifically. So, if we take a look at Chiang Mai, we can get information about that particular city. We can understand safety level. Population. There is no cost of living for Chiang Mai in particular. This is actually a bug because I know for a fact that we have it. We embedded hood maps here, which is a amazing, amazing little web app that is run by the people who make Nomad List. Um, it's a way for you to kind of understand the vibe of a city. We got board retirees. We have, this is the old city of Chiang Mai. We have its stadium. I've actually been here to this stadium to watch a boxing fight. Food market, live music. That market is very overrated. Here we have Niman, which is a nice little area. A lot of bougie foreigners and ramen places over here. We've embedded the travel Wikipedia entry for this particular city as well. And this is all kind of included as a courtesy just to help you understand, help you read and do your research all in one place. That's kind of the theme of what we're trying to do is we're trying to consolidate the research experience into one solid area. Looking at housing, we'll get into this later when we talk about real estate, but taxes and immigration are also included. Thailand is one of the countries we give free immigration information about. And so Thailand is famous for its retirement visas. They're 10-year long stay visas, and you'll be able to, well, won't be able to review the detailed information here. But you will be able to. I'll show you later how. But the idea is that you're going to be able to you're going to be reviewing places that have actionable immigration programs. And of course, you can do a more deep research into the country from here. Every single time you visit and you research for a specific country, you'll also unlock an achievement for that country. So, if you actually take a look here on our tab here, we have something called an onboarding checklist. And then we also have something called a passport stamp. So if you go ahead and open this up, you will notice that there is an entry for every single country. Now, we don't actually include the name of the country in every single one of these, but you will unlock them as you explore. So Tango Tactician, this is Argentina, where which we just reviewed moments ago. Those who unlock every single stamp will unlock a surprise. And additionally, as you probably noticed, the achievements, we have an onboarding checklist that we offer. And so the idea with this is that we want to give people an understanding of what steps they need to take to be able to get the most out of their experience. For each of these achievements, we also include a fancy little GIF. And in this GIF, we need to fix that text to make it white in dark mode. But the idea is that we want to give everyone a little hint, a little clue, some instructions about what they're supposed to do to be able to maximize the product. And they can click on this little button over here to be able to go to that page in particular. So, and then also up here, as long as we're up here, they can always retake the tour by clicking the tour button up here. So that was the, so this is kind of the experience for reviewing countries and cities within our kind of free mode. As you can see, the chat is currently disabled. You'd have to upgrade to premium to unlock that. But what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next part of our of our 8-step process. So Expatria breaks down the process of moving abroad into 8 different steps. And so, the first step being a questionnaire. Second step is reviewing the countries. Third step is reviewing cities. And after that is where we do a real deep dive into the cost of living situation. So, for this to get a better idea, I have everything in this one My Journey section, but all these pages are, split up and broken out into separate areas. So you can get more of a full screen experience. So the idea with the cost of living research that we are going to want to do is that, when you've added cities, based on the countries that you're interested in into your list of finalists, you're going to want to review each of them to dive deep into your projected, financial models. So one of the biggest kind of appeals for moving abroad is to save money. So what we do is we allow you to create a custom benchmark for yourself based on your hometown. So my hometown was Seattle, which, a solo local meal of $20 sounds about right. A McDonald's combo is 11. That certainly sounds right. And so based on this kind of initial benchmark, which again is benchmarked on data from 2023, you're going to be able to set, using our price calculator and lifestyle calculator, you're going to be able to edit these amounts, right? So if you guys don't buy a bottle of wine for a date night, you can probably get away with a, $50 date night. Now you must be subscribed to be able to update these custom values. But the idea is that you'll be able to update, exactly how much a certain thing costs in your hometown, and then you'll be able to review it directly compared to the cities that you've saved. So Buenos Aires, for example, in your list of favorites, these green indicators, while you can't see exactly what they say, basically it means cheaper. And looking down, it only seems there's only one thing that seems more expensive, which sounds about right. And so you'll be able to update your price calculator and also your lifestyle calculator. So how many date nights a month do you go on, in addition to how much does a date night cost? And so the idea with this is that you're going to want to be able to really dive deep into what the cost savings are for you. We have a spreadsheet view that lets you kind of look at everything in one place. That's reserved for premium members. We have a FIRE calculator, which is essentially meant to help you project your estimated retirement age based on your cost of living, based on your savings rate, based on your expenses. And we also have that tax calculator that we previously mentioned that lets you have side-by-side comparison of your expected obligations. So, and that's covered in step 5 of our process. Step 4 goes into real estate. So real estate can be found here. So essentially, once you have reviewed the countries that you like, you reviewed the cities that you like, you're going to be able to, in addition to doing cost of living on the things like how much cappuccinos cost, you're going to want to do some evaluation of the real estate markets. And for anyone who has tried to do this, it's a little bit of a chaotic experience on the internet. We've aggregated a set of 295 different real estate platforms that are all verified, to be real and exist. And these platforms, cover a wide variety of countries. But when you're going to these platforms, a lot of times, like, how are you saving, the properties that you like? A lot of people just add a bookmark. So what we've done is we've created a Chrome extension, which I just opened in a separate tab, which you can't really see. But essentially, you're going to be able to go and log in on this Chrome extension, go to a property on the internet, and then we're going to go ahead and scrape that page, try to intelligently get the right data for that listing, give you the ability to edit the listing in case you see something that went wrong. And then you're going to be able to save that listing to your screen here. And later on, once we log in to take a look at the premium features, you're going to see, how these saved properties are going to pop up over here for you to be able to keep in one place and review in one place. So the idea being that, you or your wife or your partner, you all can engage in this house hunt together, save these listings to your profile, and then review them later together as a part of the comprehensive analysis of where you want to move to. So we talked about taxes. We briefly touched on healthcare earlier, where we provide data about the actual type of the type of healthcare, right? The type of system for a particular country, some rough estimates. But this is kind of the beginning step here. For researching things on healthcare, which for those who are retiring, unless you're a young person retiring early, these things can inevitably touch on end of life scenarios. It can be very, very innately tied to the type of social security and civil society benefits that governments give to their citizens or residents. So a big part of this research is understanding, not just, let's take a look at Argentina since we've been busy there. It's understanding what kind of social security benefits they provide. And so this data comes from some international reports that were published by the American Social Security Administration. And so the idea is we're going to try to help you understand what benefits are offered. And in Argentina, they don't seem to have occupational pensions, but they do seem to have unemployment insurance, family allowances to assist with children, cash maternity benefits. Hey, not too shabby. And it also talks about the contribution rates that come out of tax rates, which frankly is not very interesting or relevant, but we have the data all the same. But looking at these different social security benefits, it's also important to get a better understanding of the healthcare research center. And so here, this is where you can kind of dive deeper into the projected costs and the statistics and trends and outcomes that are associated with a particular national medical system. Now, researching online and trying to understand how much does the MRI cost in Argentina, in Buenos Aires? It's kind of a hard question. And, some people have some anecdotal information. If you ask ChatGPT, I'm sure it'll give you an answer. But who knows how accurate that question is. So when trying to offer this type of comparative research, the most solid, reliable information that we're going to be able to give you is based on statistics that are gathered by government sources and also from IGOs, intergovernmental organizations like the OECD, which is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is a club of rich countries, mostly based in Western Europe. So they're going to have statistics about average out-of-pocket expenditures, within Argentina. For public systems, they're going to talk about the per capita health expenditure of a country as a whole. Going to talk about private health expenditure is 36% of total health expenditure, which can give you an idea of helping you say, okay, well, I guess that the government system is good enough for, 2/3 of the healthcare burden of the country, but 1/3 of the country's healthcare is wholly it's unable to be handled by the government, which can give you an idea about what the capacity is. We provide a lot of statistics talking about things like maternal mortality, some immunization coverage, talking about capacity, talking about data that I don't know if not too many people are really curious how many polio cases there were. Usually zero, but we're trying to give you the kind of as much data as we can, as much reliable, consistent data that we can to help you make a decision. Argentina has 9.65 dentists per 10,000 people. We have statistics on the pharmacists, And as well, we also have some overall trends that you can notice. So from 2018 to 2021, the health expenditure as a percentage of GDP did not rise. Um, the per capita health expenditure has actually fallen. Out of pocket as percentage of total health expenditure has fallen as well. So, could that be related to an overall drop in per capita health expenditure? Maybe. But the idea is that we're giving you the ability to also compare this country. So, for example, if we take a look at Armenia, we can do some very simple comparisons to help you understand how it might relate. But I think a little bit more work needs to be done on that. And we've also put together a checklist to kind of help you understand and get your ducks in a row from a healthcare perspective, what information you need for insurance coverage, what you might need from healthcare documentation, medical power of attorney, just doing local research and financial planning on your healthcare needs. And this is going to be one of those modules that evolves over time to become a bit more comprehensive. And then once you have that, all your ducks in a row there, from there it's a matter of actually being able to move on to the paperwork of the process. So the paperwork includes, if we take a look at retiring in Thailand on that 10-year visa, as I kind of mentioned, the kind of the point of our process here is to break down um, the requirements in a way that's simple and understandable. Um, so we will kind of break down what kind of core national documents you might need to get for this particular application. So, for example, you'll need to get a medical clearance check. And so here, in this URL, this is going to be a URL to go where? To go somewhere. I'm sharing my tab. I'm not sharing my full screen. So, if I go ahead and click this button, you're not gonna see this PDF from the Department of Health Service Support from the Ministry of Public Health in Thailand. But the idea would be that we're going to give you links to relevant documents that you need to fill out. And once again, kind of reiterate the fact that this is not supposed to be a substitute for legal advice. It's for general guidance only. We definitely recommend definitely before you submit all your paperwork, it doesn't hurt to get some legal advice on the documents that you've prepared. But the idea would be that we're trying to help you track the requirements for those documents and also helping you understand your options, right? Turkey has investment citizenship, Dominica has investment citizenship. And when you go on the world map, this is a pretty simple, easy way for you to just kind of browse around. You can see that here, golden visas denoted by the purple triangles, retirement visas are golden squares. And so, you can kind of pop one of these open, take a look at this real estate investor visa. It is at the current moment, it's tied to paid subscribers. But but the world map is a pretty easy way of understanding what are the options at your disposal. And then we also have specific continent style views. Sometimes things can get a little hectic. So being able to take a look at a particular continent by itself can be very helpful, just to decrease the amount of noise in a particular little section of the map. So we've covered a big part of the hard data that we have here, and this data is sourced from reliable sources. It's not GPT generated, which I think can be dangerous. But that being said, there's a lot more information that you would want to have about a particular country. that isn't available as official government source data. So what we've started is we've started an ambassador program, and what we want to do is to have trusted representatives of a particular country to be able to work on putting together a country guide that covers the core of what it's like to live in a country more fully. Not just about the statistics on the tax rates and the quality of healthcare, and we want to understand like what kind of food, what kind of cuisine does Argentina have? They seem to be famous for empanadas and asado. Tell us a little bit more about the culture. What are the typical holidays? The Labor Day, the Tango Festival, Carnival. And so we've put together a country guide that covers cuisine, culture, education, etiquette, internet, understanding the popular websites and apps that make that country go, information about the media, marriage in that country, what that looks like, meetups, employment, banking, real estate, and more. However, as you will notice here, I'm very specifically listing out that the information in this guide is artificially generated and has not been reviewed by an expatriate ambassador. So yes, so right now, this information that you're seeing here was generated by GPT, GPT 4.5, I want to say. So it's certainly needs to be reviewed and expanded upon, crucially. So, taking a look at the internet, like, yes, we know that WhatsApp and Instagram are very popular social networking platforms. But is there anything like in particular in Buenos Aires that's like very niche and very focused on that city? More information about some of the internet regulations and cultural notes that are happening, just to help you really bring the country to life. And so here we're looking for ambassadors to be able to build out um, this country guide for their particular country of choice, as a part of our ambassador program, where in addition to showing off their knowledge of and love for their home country, they can also promote their own assorted interests that they might have. Perhaps they are a influencer who is helping people move to Argentina, and they help people navigate the process and the cultural transitions. And perhaps they are sending people here to this platform, and they're using it as a way of basically helping their community understand what their options are and helping them make tangible progress as they're moving forward. So, if you are interested in serving as an ambassador for one of our countries here, definitely encourage you to reach out to us, and that we can get that process started. Um, in terms of that's a big chunk of the platform itself. Without going into the chat, the intelligent AI driven chat experience, I think there's a lot of other stuff that you can kind of see. For example, the queue of countries and cities for you to review is available at a glance. We have a support um, channel for you to be able to access us on. We obviously have dark mode and light mode, which I think could probably stand to be improved a little bit. Um, as well as we have a little quick notes section where you can kind of scroll down notes just while you're just kind of in the middle of researching something. You can very quickly, just at a glance, access them and move on when you've made a note that you want to hear. We have a little built-in music player here for you to be able to listen to some coffee shop jazz. We also have a couple playlists, so Spa Day, 1920s Jazz and Blues, and Fats Waller, my personal favorite jazz musician. We have a support page where you are able to take a look at our product roadmap, our release notes, You're able to read our terms of service, our privacy policy, and get more information about how to contact support. And then as well, you're able to sign up and join, join Expatria Plus. So to give you a quick little preview of our paid functionality, half of the tour was you essentially seeing all the different components that you're locked out of. And so I just had a little crash here, it seems. Huh. Well, got to take a look at that. But anyway, now that you've logged back in, as you can see, when you log back in, we're keeping track of where you are in your journey. This is a very long journey. And so we are in the stage where we need to review some countries. And so when you log back in, it remembers that you were reviewing Argentina. And so it's going to remember that, and it's going to automatically navigate you to this section where you can review information about Argentina. Where you can read about some of the statistics on the demographics. You can now research the immigration fully. You can read up on the requirements of a particular visa. And then while you're reviewing Argentina, for example, you're going to be able to do a couple of things. So one, you're going to be able to mark it as a finalist. Or you're going to be able to reject it. But you're also going to be able to ask a couple of questions just in case you kind of want some help as to what you want to do next. So, you can ask, what should I do next? Because in this process, there's just so many different steps. And so it's asking, saying, what should I do next? Add a city to your list of favorites. So by adding a city to your favorites, you can compare its cost of living data to your hometown and access it at any time. So let's go ahead and take us there. So we went to our world map, and we can take a look at the cities here based on the white dots. So just to kind of keep the noise on the map to a minimum, we just have the tier 1 cities displayed. However, if we want to get real crazy, you can kind of see all of the cities that are available. So, let's take a look at, tier 5 Italian city, or French city. So let's go ahead and add it for review. So now it's in our queue. And that was kind of what we were supposed to do next. And as you can see here, we also have your kind of next step in plain English up here on the top left, just to help you understand more about what you can do on the platform and what the different capabilities are. So for the next step, you can update your benchmark cost of living prices. And so you can click that to automatically jump to the cost of living section. And so here, while we were locked out of this earlier due to our lack of a subscription, now we can update our date night, and we can see that reflected almost immediately. So essentially, the way that we want to look at the platform is that it is a way of it's a way of combining all the aspects of retiring abroad into one convenient place. And so I think when you take a look at the chat assistant UI, which is basically an AI agent that you are going to be able to interact with to help you remember what you should do, when you go and review a country like Argentina, and let's say that you've already kind of reviewed everything. Let's say that you want to add it as a finalist. So you can either click this big green button or this big red button, or you could type a message here. I want to mark it as a finalist. And the application is going to actually listen to what you are doing, and it's going to I believe it's going to help you understand like what capabilities you have. All right, cool. So now it knows you're reviewing Argentina. So let's say I want to understand more about Argentina's healthcare system. So it's going to give you some information about it. You can, it's an intelligent assistant. You can ask it specific questions. But when you are, marking as a finalist or rejecting a particular country, you're going to see that it leaves your queue, and you can move on to the next country, and our assistant's going to understand what you're doing. So it's going to say, let's get started reviewing Chile. So you can go ahead and say, I want to mark as a finalist. And it doesn't seem like it's quite working right now. But the idea would be that as we continue to evolve the overall platform, we want to have this type of synergy between the intelligent assistant and the user, where it can understand exactly what you're looking at within the context of the platform. So it can kind of learn your preferences over time, and then you can intelligently assign it work to do for you. Whether that's doing some independent research, whether that's helping you potentially do something crazy in the future, like preparing a document for you. Having this type of UI that talks to each other and interacts with the AI models opens up a lot of possibilities. So that's what that's a big summary of what Expatria is today. So you are able to you're able to kind of play around with things, and like I mentioned, you're also able to take part in our ambassador program. So if you or someone that is someone who would be a good fit for helping build out the country guide, we'd love to talk about giving you a free account, as well as potentially setting up an affiliate relationship with you to, help incentivize you to help make our data the best that it can be, to hopefully create a comprehensive platform that everybody can benefit from. So, yeah, this has been me, Michael at Expatria, and I'm excited to hear back from anybody with any questions.